my God, I could smell your cough drop from over here.
I smell it through
like
the mic.
Pastor Diego.
Oh my, no, no.
Yeah, it's a.
Yucky. Are
It's
we
an on guard
live,
cough
Andy?
drop.
Are we live?
What did he say? Yes.
Yes.
Oh, I love you, Dad.
Wait, hold on. Lick your lips.
Oh,
Ashley. Right. Thank goodness this isn't a makeout show.
I've already been talking all afternoon, and
You ain't been talking about
Meetings.
nothing.
yeah, it was.
Oh gosh, are you parched?
he was.
Yeah, jeez. Sanaz and Nathan and their water, man. It was like I had to ban it from them on stage.
Genesis 1, 2.
Yeah.
slurp, slurp.
And the Lord said, I loved it. And my favorite was when they had the sipper. Because they both went,
Yeah, and the
water
glass, as if they like found a hack or something like that.
I thought it would be less intrusive than
Yeah.
spitting water.
and the reason why I don't, not that I don't speak a lot anyways, but if I were to do, I feel like I would probably choke on the water instead of,
Well, my
Yeah,
ADHD medication makes my mouth very dry. It just is. That's what it is.
Yeah.
and Adam,
That's very honest. Believe it or not, like I had 5 people come up to me this weekend, be like, who had, like, because they're like, oh, a couple of them, I'm really, thankful that you're very open about your ADHD. And then if I talk about it immediately, they want to know, like, oh, what's your view on medication,
Oh, okay.
and I'm like, well, because I'm in the arts kind of creative field, ADHD is the worst. I mean, medication, Adderall, that
Takes
is
your
the
superpower
worst.
away.
The worst for me. But if I had more of a career that had to have like genuine structure and genuine focus, for hours upon hours in a day, then I have no problem with medication. So many people, it's looks, that kind of stuff is frowned upon, but yet we have no issue with Tylenol or anything else. But like let that be the line in the sand or whatever.
have you ever taken it while we've been together?
No, not while I've been. I took it in college for a year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
About a year, probably about 9 months.
So you take it regularly?
I do now. Yeah. One of my ADHD little situations is that I get hyper
Stigmatism.
Stigmatism.
Her eyesight.
Oh gosh, you may have ADHD.
He has a lot of things.
Adam says I don't have that.
I hyper focus. I hyper focus on sounds. So when somebody has a dry mouth and they're talking, and all I can hear is.
Yeah.
I can't hear anything, like it's like a haze, and that's all. So anytime I'm speaking and I think that I'm starting to sound like that, I'm gone, or
You're done?
there's no coming back. I'm not present anymore. So
Yeah.
Adam just starts talking, and I'm like, oh, God. Disneyland.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Beyond I Do. Thanks for joining us today. If you haven't caught on yet, because maybe you're listening on the car or anything like that, we got my brother Nathan in the house.
Hello.
And sister-in-law Sanaz in the house. Oh, we got
I heard that one.
yeah. We can hear Sanaz. Might need to
Turn your volume down.
I'll speak up a little bit.
might need to tweak her microphone down a little bit.
Down.
But thanks for joining us today. Hope you all, this is landing somewhere in the holidays. So
No, I
hoping you
think
have a
this
great holidays.
is Nancy. Is this one Christmas?
Whichever one.
Oh.
Yeah, so this might be a Christmas episode,
yeah.
may not. Who knows?
Where am I gonna
Maybe the
land?
week before Christmas, or yeah. Who knows?
What are you saying,
Andy
Andy?
knows.
This
It'll
Thursday.
be this
Okay.
Thursday. So we got a week till Christmas. A week till Christmas. But yeah. Anyways, yeah. People came up to me this weekend. A lot did, and asking views on Meg. But then I got also a lot that were like, hey, my child's recently been diagnosed with ADHD, and like, what do you think about that? And, obviously I have my thoughts on it, but then our son, our oldest, has ADHD like me, and so processing with him and stuff like that. And so, well, I guess today's episode, I had something in mind that I was going to ask you guys, you and Sanaz, but maybe we'll do that. And then if we find ourselves back on, maybe we'll do a part 2 on like kids and decisions.
ADHD.
Yeah. Nathan and
Raising.
OCD and all that kind of stuff like that.
all of our
Whatever else that
problems.
Yes. But I thought because it'll go into marriage. But I think tacking on, we recently did an episode. It might even been our last episode. Well, it's going to be the second to last from this. But I was talking to having more of a singles conversation, and what guys looking for girls looking for guys, commitment, all that kind of stuff like that. And since that episode and hearing people's come in and talking and asking questions, appreciation, all that is, I thought to myself what certain women are really good at and some women not so much. And it's not like, I'm not necessarily saying it's a bad thing. It's just, and I don't know what's conscious and what's not, because I guess I haven't had enough conversations with women in particular around this topic. But even just sitting at this table thinking of me and Nathan in the regard of what I'm going to say, but I know many other guys. But
I'm so nervous right now.
No, it's not a bad thing. There are women, and there's a lot of women, I would say this, that are really good when they're sober-minded. And I don't mean sober-minded as in like not drunk or on drugs or something like that. Just sober-minded, like, very rational, in the decision-making process of choosing someone to be married to date, whatever it is. Women are really good at recognizing potential in men. And a lot of times, men that you may look at now that are great fathers, successful in whatever right, not perfect, but, what someone would say, oh, that's a great spouse. Like my sister-in-law jokes with me all the time, like now of like, well, it's hard to marry a man now that I've been around Adam. It's like, well, but, I wasn't everything that I am right now when I met Ashlee. And Ashlee used to see potential in me, and she would say it. She would say those things of what she saw that I was going to become, whether it be through accomplishment, fatherhood, whatever it is. And it'd be like, oh, well, I'm not really thinking about that. But women are really great at when they're really sober-minded, they can see potential in men and go, I want to make that. I'm going to commit to this guy, even though, he may be in his 20s, he may still kind of be in a kind of a kid or young man in some of these areas, but I feel that he's going to do it. Like, what's your guys' thoughts on like, let's just say a woman isn't good at seeing that in a man, or just your own current reflections on how you guys process that in the dating phase that Sanaz, you were dating a little later on in life. Ashlee, you were in your 30s when you started dating Nathan. Ashlee was in her late 20s when we started dating. And so, what are your guys' thoughts on that?
About seeing potential in men.
Yeah, because we know God knows this guy right here, Nathan, sitting next to me right now. I mean,
The potential.
When you met him, his lounge clothes was he would wear basketball shorts up to his chest. No. He would lounge, not on his waist, to his chest.
Aww.
That's true. I also dress, and on Sundays I dress like I lived in Alabama.
You did, yes, you did with the polo. Yes. You were in a
And
fraternity.
your vests with a t-shirt
Sweater
underneath.
vest.
Very different guy that sits right here.
Yeah.
I think it's twofold. I think it's that I think the right woman for the right man can help him find his best person. I think that a good woman will not tear a man down, but will build a man up. And so we are good at finding, I think just in our children, in the workplace, things like that, we will find that little diamond in just the rough of just what is the one thing that just is really, really great about you, and then just really encouraging that. I think that that's something that a lot of women are very good at. They do it with their friends. They encourage their friends. They are great with their children. Their children could be absolutely insane, as sometimes my kids are, and just really being able to find what that their positive traits are, and just being able to just, okay, if you're really good at this, let's explore that. And so I think that a lot of times with men, I do think it's a good picker. I mean, I'm notorious for having a bad picker in my 20s. And so that was just, the laundry list of things I didn't want was really, really long after being with just a bunch of losers. But at the same time.
But that was before the Lord too.
That was before the Lord. Yes,
Yeah.
Jesus definitely helped
Changed
me.
your heart.
He took the wheel.
Absolutely.
Changed your eyes.
He really took the wheel. Well, because
Change your eyes of color of skin.
well, yeah, exactly.
You know,
Well, partly because I saw a video the other day. I was like, oh, I agree with that, and I resonate with that. Is that there was a guy he might be known on like online, if I remember correctly. He's either known for like having a great shoe collection, or even like maybe like collectible collection Legos or something like that. And he said, people always ask me, because he was like a guy with like a wife and kids, like, could you only imagine how much more shoes or whatever he was doing? I think it was Legos or something. It was one of those two. How much more of that you would have if you didn't have a wife and kids? Like he says, people say that. And he goes, my response was, oh, if I didn't have a wife and kids, I would have none of this. Because only when I had my wife and my kids did I find the passion, did I get triggered to work and provide, and what my wife and my kids pull out of me even has allowed me to even have the excess to have these shoes or whatever it was that he had. And he goes, when I didn't have them, I was lazy and had no drive and had no determination. And the whole reason why I was an Asian guy, he's like, the whole reason why any of this exists is because my wife and kids pull it out of me.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh wow, I totally agree with that sentiment, because having a wife and children, for me, it shifted something in me when it came to just, and I've always been a hard worker, but being more focused. Like there were in the day, I would like, before I had a wife and kids, I would like try things out. Now having wife and kids, when it comes to financially providing for my family, I can't try things out anymore. Like
Right, 'cause it's more than just you.
like there's a lot more on the line. And if I fail at this, or if this becomes a waste of 6 months financially or whatever else it is, or testing out a new job, like it's going to affect, mouths that I feed and my family and all that kind of stuff. And so it sobered me up really quick having wife and kids. And for me, like anyone, work in progress, but pulled what I think is the best out of me.
Yeah.
And gave me really quick excuses with people. Well, why can't you do that? Well, I got a wife and kids. I got, it's like where before when you're single, it's like, oh, I don't know why I can't do it, because I'm selfish, I'm lazy, or maybe you just don't want to, which you have every right not to. But now for me, over the past decade, it that's what changed.
Yeah. And I would say, like, this is in the context too of when Adam and I were dating. Also, when you find the person that you want to be with, their level of things, obviously you wean out the red flags and all that stuff, and seeing like how much of this person am I willing to change myself? Because I know that in order to be compatible, you're going to have to be selfless. And so when it came to like Adam, there would be certain things like I would say, and in hindsight, I didn't realize, oh, this is change. Like, oh, and it's in the simplest thing, because it always reminds me too of when you've seen on TikTok where they said the black effect, when a white guy's dating a black woman, and you see the timeline of like how all of a sudden their style has completely changed. They have more swag. They carry themselves with the fades, the stature, the chest out,
Swag.
the confidence.
Yeah.
And
For the record, I've been getting fades for 20 years.
you have been, yes. So I'm not.
Yes.
So you are not a part of that. But
did you marry a black woman, Nathan? Because you got
swagged
swaggy.
out. Yeah.
Well, he's
I
got a black brother.
Like,
His black brother.
so it's rubbed off.
So rubbed off. So that happened down the line. Yeah. You guys started hanging out more. That's what happened. But I believe it's the same effect that a wife can play into, or into a relationship. You can see how far the limits will go with someone that you're encouraging and uplifting and saying, like, like you said, the change. Like there were moments where I would say, hey, I would like this. And you're like, and I like that. You'd be like, no, that's just not me. And then I'd be like, okay, is that, in my mind, I wasn't taking that as a diss that he's not changing for me.
Right.
He's just not comfortable with whatever the ask may be. And it wasn't anything crazy. It wouldn't be like, oh, why don't you stop getting fades? And there was a point in time, this is as simple as it was. You started growing your beard out, and I was like, oh, I love you with a beard. And then it got to a point where we both looked at each other and we're like, we don't like this beard. but he was willing to see it through until we were like, yeah, no, this isn't okay. Like we were like, no, we like the clean cut, the well put together sort of thing. But even in those moments, it was like the encouraging of like, well, I think you look handsome. Well, I think you look good. I think that this, there was even a point in time, I know this is a very surface stuff and not internal of the heart, but like there was a point I remember you were like, I really love tattoos. And I was like, do it. He was like, well, I'm a pastor. I'm not getting it lower than here. So he went and got a tattoo, and it was an eagle, and the eagle could have had a longer like mane for it, and you stopped right here.
I cut it off.
You cut it off, and I was like, why'd you cut it off? He goes, well, what people are going to say. I was like, who cares, Adam? You're with me. You're married to me. I like them. I like tattoos. What does it matter what everyone else says? And it was the perception, like he would be either judged or whatever you may have felt. Yeah. But in that moment, you're like, you know what? Yeah. I'm going to do it.
Well, right. Yeah. Well, yeah, and back then it would have been more so my dad of like, well, what if I don't get, promoted or whatever because I have these tattoos? And then even when I did get my first one, which was the real one on my forearm, that lion one was the first big one. And then my dad saw it and he was really upset. And then he was like, well, what if you're ever the main, preacher here? Like, that's not a good look. And you look like every other person's past, and et cetera, et cetera. And then within a year, people started saying, Pastor Diego, can you let us know when your son's preaching? Because we got a friend that just got out of prison and we think he'd really feel comfortable with Adam. And then my dad was like, oh, maybe it's kind of maybe there's an advantage to this. But it was like, but at that time it was you that was like, well, so what? Hey, but is that not what you want to do? Is there something wrong with it? And I'm like, well, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just, and there is times to use wisdom. Right. But now over the years, about 15 years later, having the amount of tattoos that I have, it's like, it's never really hindered me because I can cover them up. Right. I could wear a dress shirt or whatever else very easily. And so, but there was other stuff you would do, like I would say, because I'm very career-minded and I'm very aspirational. So I'd say, hey, I want to do this with my company, or I want to start doing this when I had my marketing company or whatever, and even still to this day with other stuff, whether it's writing a book or whatever. And I talk out loud. You're very like, you should do it. You should, and I'm like, well, no, because then that means I'll have to, I already have a full-time job. Then I'll have to work more, and then I'll have to do it. And you're like, cool, we'll that's cool. We'll navigate it. Well, and it's that kind of stuff over the years of like, either stuff I maybe didn't see in myself or just stuff that I tried, but if I was by myself, I'd probably talk myself out of. Right.
But we've always had those conversations where you have never made me feel that you were picking that over us.
Yeah.
And that's just how I know that you're wired with having ADHD, that you like having your hand in many tasks, but another task that you've always kept a full hand on top of has been your family. Yeah. But your family supports it. We love it. We encourage it. We encourage the creativity, those sides of things, to where it's like we both are very driven people that if you started getting lazy, then the whole family's lazy.
Yeah.
If you came, because there was a point in time I even remember when we first got married, and when we were even dating, and you know this too, is he would go to bed at like 1 a.m. and sleep till like 10.
Oh, probably more like
later.
3. Yeah. I would be
like
that was the only thing that I would say that was like not a turnoff, but I was like, is this guy lazy?
Yeah.
Why are you sleeping this long? This doesn't make any sense. And until he started telling me, no, I'm doing X, Y, and Z.
Right.
I have this going on. I have this going on. But then now, if I were to, as a wife, then say, okay, work all hours and then sleep in all day, then you're taking up time from the family. Instead, I'm going to say, while we're awake and the amount of time that you want to do it, we're still a part of it. Do what you got to do in the amount of hours that we're here. I'll support you in any way, shape, or form as long as you're still with us. You sleep like a normal person.
For sure.
And you're up with the family. You're engaged with the family. You're including the family. The family's gaining. I mean, we've gained more benefits than any hurts from what you've done. So, and in I think, like we've said, we're not selfish of our spouse's wins. We're not competing against our spouse.
And I think going back to the original question of saying when a woman is sober-minded, she can really speak life into her husband. There's a huge difference between saying, hey, we really want you to be present because we love being around you, and really like speaking about how much you're loved in the house versus, ugh, you're lazy, you're always sleeping. Those are two totally different ways to approach. And so, and one is because you're speaking out of anger. So in retrospective, what we're talking about, it's not, it's loaded because it's coming from a place where you have resentment towards your spouse. And so, as opposed to saying, hey, let's figure out as a family how you can have what you like and do all the things that you want to do. But then also, I want to be around you. And when we're around each other, I just love when we actually get to have attention towards one another because I really enjoy my time with you. And just being able to speak like that to your spouse, that is always going to ignite. I know even on the flip side, when Nathan starts telling me about where he thinks I'm doing a really good job, then it makes me want to do an even better job at what I'm doing well versus where I'm missing the mark. It's amazing when we actually come from a place of wanting the other person to be better and speaking into the positives versus complaining and whining and coming from a place of anger, that they will start to notice that the parts of them that maybe can be pushed aside or whatnot.
Yeah, because would you say that when you and Nathan started dating, obviously later in your age, did you find it was very easy to kind of tell Nathan what you wanted, or was he very much knowing who he was as a person? He knew his identity. Like there was the encouraging side, but there was also this like level of like maybe you felt, I want to be married, so I'm willing to do whatever with a beautiful girl.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think that's a part of it. I think in regards to like I was confident, but at the same time I was also very selfish, and so I feel like and I've changed a lot. I still have my ways to this day. But I was very selfish when we met. And because I think we dated so quickly and we married quickly, I don't think she even knew fully how selfish I was. And so I think like in seeing potential, and she could speak to it, you may or may have seen more than I maybe even know, but I think the greatest thing that she helped pull out of me was bringing more compassion to me by providing different perspectives, because it was in my way or the highway in the way I thought in a lot of ways. And so she's brought in, that's been one of the greatest things I think she brought to me through this marriage, is giving me perspective through a variety of lenses. But through that has brought a more compassionate heart, because she's such a giving person and self-sacrificing. And so I think she's helped me through that a lot. So even though I was like confident and there was an expectation, I was willing, it was like, okay, there was a whole lot that I discovered obviously in marrying Sanaz, that like, okay, I wasn't the best that I thought I was when I came into this marriage. Yeah. And obviously you grow together and you want to be better for one another. But I think I soon realized like, oh, wow, I've been living this isolated, single life, confident, but yet very selfish.
So then in those moments when she would correct you, what was your response? Did you take it in love at first, or did you take it as in control?
I didn't. I've never taken it as control, but I definitely would have said, it would have been like constructive criticism out of love.
Were you offended?
I would be defensive for sure early on. Yeah, for sure.
Well, it didn't help that Adam didn't like me very much.
I was like,
no, dump her.
So if I brought anything to him, he wasn't necessarily.
Yeah. It wasn't a really good sounding board at first.
No, it's okay. We got through it.
We made it here.
Yes, 13 years.
But then
almost.
once he decided to marry her, I was like, okay, we got to get
We're
over
in
this at some point.
And now he loves me.
Yes, literally.
Yeah. I was like, all right.
Well,
Once I found out her dad had a Peter Lick collection, I said, I think I could deal with this family.
Yes.
It's a mess. So then how would you respond in those moments? Like, was it more of like, okay, I hear him, I see him, or was it like, oh, this guy's going to be a jerk?
I think a lot of times it was more of because I had been single for so long too. I was in my 30s. So there were a lot of times where I realized that I was very set in my ways too, and that I had to compromise. So it was just a matter of, hey, I can't be doing all the bending here. So you gotta meet me somewhere. And I'm not asking, because I always say, it doesn't work everybody always talks about like it's really not 50-50, it's 100-100. But what I mean by that or what I think of when I hear that, it's that if both people are compromising, nobody gets what they want. So it's a matter of finding what really matters to Nathan and doesn't matter to me, and what really matters to me and doesn't matter to Nathan. And we have, and you come up with this this working relationship where I'm filling in the gaps for the things that don't, are he does not want to do it and I don't mind, and the other way around. And it's always this, we're trying to figure out exactly what the mix is, but what we have figured out works really well. I am terrible at packing for a trip. And we all know this. I don't do well. I don't pack the kids. It actually gives me anxiety. This idea of thinking about outfits and thinking about how many pairs of underwear and how many. And most women are not wired the way that I'm wired. They don't mind doing that. I hate it. Yeah. He doesn't mind. So he does it every single time we go on a trip or every time the kids are going to grandma's. And he's never going to sit there and say, I'm the one that's doing the packing all the time and I'm putting more effort into us going out of town than you are. He's never going to put that on me because he knows it's something that I don't like to do and he doesn't mind.
Yeah.
And so, and then there's things on the flip side. He doesn't like to cook and he surely doesn't wash a dish very well. And he always puts it in the sink, regular side up. And so the water just kind of sits in the cup and I'm always like, gotta turn it down. And it's like, instead of just nagging, I don't care.
But let people come over and Nathan's hosting and he's over there.
He cleans better than anyone. He's like, do you want to have friends over? I look at the house, it's dirty. I'm like, yeah, you know what? Yeah.
I want the house clean. I clean the house, yes.
Nathan will go to your house and start cleaning.
Oh, yes. Come to my house. Right. I'm like, sit down.
And we just have to figure out what battles we're going to fight and what battles we're not going to fight. And it just kind of works out because so where he was really, really selfish, if it was something I didn't care about, I would just do it. Yeah. And likewise, there's certain things that I just really don't like to do. And so he'll fill in. Yeah. And but the biggest part of that is that we don't hold it over each other's heads. Right. That's the most important part.
As best as we can.
Yeah. And so back with the sober-mindedness, I think about like now Allie in her sober mind. She's clear as day. Clear. She at this point is like, I'm not giving anybody a chance.
Sister.
Yeah, my sister.
Okay. Not everyone knows your sister.
Sorry, my sister Allie. Sorry. My sister Allie.
It's like, guys, all 50,000 of you, you know Allie. Well, maybe a lot of people would, but now we talk about her.
Being sober-minded, because she talks about it very clearly now to where she has expressed to us where she's like, I'm done with dating websites because she's like, I know what this is for.
Mm-hmm. It's just, it was too chance of the draw.
Right.
If she went on 20 dates from online, 21 of them were whack.
We're wrong. Right.
Yeah.
So she's in a clear, sober mind. But I also think, like you had said, Sanaz and myself, prior to meeting each of you, we were single for a while. And so we were single for the moment of like, okay, I'm ready to settle down with somebody, or I'm ready to see who's willing to take me serious enough. And not serious enough to not to marry, like who's serious enough to marry, but serious enough to just be serious with me.
Yeah.
Who just wants to be with Ashlee and who wants to spend time with me. But not only that, it was more, Adam and I's was very unique because I felt like this was my best friend before he was my boyfriend. And I think that's kind of how we just dated the whole time. Like, how you doing? Joking around. What's up? I don't think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, which I'm 100% okay with this. I don't think you ever sent me a good morning, beautiful text. I don't think you ever played into my looks. You may have said like, oh, I think you're really pretty. And that was to my face. But I can't remember you doing the like, good morning, beautiful, good morning, sunshine. That's just not, the more he got to know me, he knew I'd be like,
well,
that's gay. That's stupid. Shut up. That's weird.
I caught on you pretty fast. Have there been women in the past that I've played that game with? Yes.
Yes.
But
you found out
Until you caught her eye roll.
Once. Yeah. And then I probably complimented her once, and then just realized how quick she rejected it. Was
Yeah,
like, oh, wow.
you don't got to do all that. You don't got to do all that.
Well,
do you
yeah,
like me or not? Like,
12 years later, though, she's really softened up because now
you better.
You better tell me I'm beautiful.
You better.
Why haven't you text me in 5 minutes? It's been 4 minutes. What's going on?
What are you doing?
Ashlee's the opposite of
No.
dating. In
Yeah.
dating, it was like, leave me alone. I got stuff to do. I'm hanging out with my friends. I'm doing this and this. And then, and I was the same way. I was like, I got, a full-time job plus a business. And then now it's for her, it's the opposite. It's
What are you
what are
doing?
you doing? Why? Where are you?
What are you doing? Are you
I'm in
getting
my
your dry clean
office
right now?
10 feet away from yeah. Why are you at the grocery store? I'm not at the grocery store. I'm picking up my dry cleaning. Oh, okay. Can you get me a Red Bull while you're by the grocery store?
I think a lot of it too, though, is that when you're talking about sober-minded, you're talking about where Allie is right now. Your priorities become the person's character over interests.
Yeah.
Because I know that Ashlee and I both are women who were.
Well, you both married opposites.
We
of what you
married
would think,
opposites, and we married opposites. Like we're kind of opposites of typical
The
women.
gender,
like we
yeah,
like
right.
sports.
Yeah,
We we can be
Not overly
rough.
sensitive, yeah,
yes,
yeah.
not overly.
Yeah.
So you automatically think like, oh my gosh, I love sports. My husband has to like sports. No, he doesn't.
Yeah.
Because that has nothing to do with the character of the
Right.
person.
But you could still have fun going to sporting events, which
Absolutely.
you've grown. You've done tremendous.
yeah.
You give high fives. Yes, but sorry, go
He
ahead.
goes Rams. He
Well,
goes
and then
Florida.
like you talk about, you change over time because you adapt to your spouse. So,
you fall in love with yourself.
You fall in love with your
Actually is what it is.
Yeah.
you
but-
fall in love with your spouse, and then your interests change.
Yep.
And so the person who loved sports, all of a sudden, a couple of years ago, my husband starts taking a liking to football, and then we'll come home on a Sunday. Football. Yeah. And 2 for 2. Yeah. And then he would come home on a Sunday and want to
does
watch.
watch it now.
Yeah,
He
he
does.
watches
Football.
football.
I
And
come
I'm
over, I'm like, yes.
yes.
on.
And then I'll be like, I was trying to watch Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. What are we doing? And he's like,
No.
there's
This
a
is what
football
we
game.
do.
And I'm like, and he's like, well, you love football. I'm like, I know, but now I don't know anybody, and now
Yeah.
I don't know any of the teams anymore, and I got to relearn everything. I don't have the capacity. It's like all of a sudden we've completely switched roles when
Yeah.
it comes to that, but it's okay.
Nathan lifts weights. He's strong boy.
Stronger.
Yeah.
I can pick her up now.
Yeah,
Couldn't
that
pick her
wedding
up when
night
we
was
got married.
that threshold was a little skippity jump.
Put her
I
on your
may
back.
have had some weight on me, but I still couldn't pick you up.
We know things have changed. Nathan got some strength now. He watches sports.
Yeah.
He wears workout shorts, not as just pajamas, but
And
as
not
like,
not over his belly, but like at a normal place. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah. He's got.
We got to do like a side by side of like all of our glow ups.
Oh, Nathan's is crazy.
It's-
Between Nathan and Erica's, those are the two biggest glow ups of the century. That you put them two side by side to their
thank you,
now
Lord.
they're aging in reverse.
They are.
is
They
what
are.
It is.
It's really
Yeah.
good. Yeah, but with sober mind, it's encouraging enough to say like if you're in a relationship right now, you can have an effect on your relationship. If you're thinking like, well, I feel like we're just going through the emotions. I think we were just going in and out of the days, and he's really not encouraged by much. What are you planting in him? What are you how are you encouraging your husband? What are likes or things that you may have maybe once turned down to where you're like, hey, can we revisit this? Because I feel like you were at your happiest. Like that's one
Yeah.
thing that I noticed in Adam. If I were to take that away from him, I think he would change. And I don't want him to change.
For sure.
And I don't think it would be for the better.
Yeah.
I think if I were to take away like, hey, it's too much. And there are times where I say, hey, just be mindful. You have this, and this. Is this one necessary? And then you'll be like, yes or no. And then I will obviously adapt. It's not saying that we're being neglected.
Correct.
But just keeping him on track
For
too.
sure.
Because even sometimes with someone that is so in love with what they're doing and you're encouraging your spouse to do what they may love, it's also too of like, you have the control, not the control, but you have the capacity to just redirect them to make sure that they still are in alignment with the family.
Yeah.
And I think that as a wife, you're not controlling them, but you're just guiding them while encouraging them. And so I've spoken to many women who have listened to the podcast and say they're having more healthy conversations with their spouses of just encouraging later in life to not lose dreaming, to not lose dating, to not lose the boyfriend, girlfriend phase, the honeymoon phase. And it's all just in healthy conversations, but it's also to seeing the good in your spouse, seeing how you can encourage your spouse even later in age. So this sober-minded, I don't think it necessarily has to be at just the beginning. It has to be sober-minded through their whole marriage of how that you're not tainting it with your own selfishness, like you said, because it could be so easy for you, probably, Nathan, to be like, yeah, no, I don't care what you guys say. I'm gonna be selfish in this moment.
Yeah.
And then if Sanaz is like, okay, whatever, leave it alone, you can then go down a spirally or a slippery slope, and then you completely neglect the family, shut down. Yeah. But it's also, it's just a friendly reminder that you should always be sober-minded when having those tough conversations or even encouraging your spouse. Be mindful that you are, whatever you encourage your spouse in, be prepared for them to go with it. Because if I were to tell Adam, like you have said, hey, go with it, do the marketing stuff, do your book, do all of that, and then me nitpicking and nagging, and he's not going to enjoy it. He's like, you know what, I'm done. I'm done. And then I'm going to feel the wrath of it, or I'm going to get the bad side of it, because he is upset, and the only person he could be upset with would be me.
Yeah.
So,
you know what the thing is that I think in society there is the machismo of the man is the leader, therefore the woman has no voice, which is not true. Because a woman absolutely, like you said, can encourage, can pour into, has an absolute right to be able to share her opinion and her thoughts and bounce those thoughts off with their husband, and they should. Yep. And then on the flip side, you have a society right now where women on the internet, celebrities, all that stuff, are basically full-blown man bashing and talking about that they are absolutely worthless in society, and the world would be a better place if there were no men in it. And neither of them are, both of those situations take power away from women, because if a woman truly values a man, if a woman truly values a man, then she has the ability, because her power is in being able to speak life into that man. And to go back to the very, very original question, she can see the potential because she can pinpoint what those positives are. But when we're being told that men are you know, life is better after divorce, and you know, what do we need men for? Women can do everything.
There's no good man, you know, type of thing.
And it's like, well, then you're not doing a good job as a woman if you're not bringing the best out of your husband.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, and it's for that kind of stuff. It's contrary to secular society, because you know, most of those people who have that concept tend to be atheist or agnostic, which means you're scientific. And you know, tell me why then a 12, 13, and 14-year-old guy and girl hormones are screaming. You know, they get nervous around the opposite sex or whatever. It's because their body is telling them that there is this emotional bond between a guy and a girl, and that is natural. Now, we know as Christian that's been embedded by God for us, but these individuals are always contrary to their own philosophies. They're evil, they're non-wanted, or this or that, or let's just take the machismo side. Women are just for child rearing, you know, and that's it. And it's like, even if you take it down the furthest atheistic mode of just scientific, like, it's contrary to that. It's contrary to what their body's telling them. It's contrary to what society tells them. It's contrary to what psychology, even secular psychology, healthiest kids have healthiest parents. And for us, you know, we know that that's all informed by God, but it's like, you look at most children and you look at the data behind most children that get raised in in a 2-parent household with mom and dad, with healthy, not just being present, but like healthy relationships, that child becomes healthy in adulthood.
Yeah.
But you take a home that's just raised by a woman. There's certain things that, especially a young boy as a child, underdevelops. You get a household just raised by a father. There's certain undeveloped things. And so it's just these individuals who are proclaiming men are most important, women are most important. You don't really need this 2-parent household. It's not as important. Women are most important. Fathers are most important. And there's data that suggests on certain sides of what is valuable, but saying most important, it really doesn't matter. They're both important. And we, as Christians, we could see that in the Bible, the value between a mother and father in the home and parents training their children and how healthy they become when it's sober and healthy. And I think that's why it's so important to add caveats of not just picking somebody, a man or a woman. It's being sober in that decision because secular society is so loud and women are like, well, this TikTok's telling me that a real man should be, he should be like Andrew Tate and have $10 million by the time he's 20 and he should have, a Bugatti or he needs to be feminine. TikTok, I'm on a TikTok algorithm that's telling me that my man should be feminine. He should be into, flowers and, empathy, and he can't be harsh in any way because then he's been affected by the male. It's like all this garbage that rotates through social media, and young people are watching that, especially people in their 19s, 20s, 21s who are like in college, wanting to find somebody and get out of college and have a relationship. And a lot of people are isolated nowadays just because of social media, so they don't have a community. Young men are starting to go to church, but just in general, a lot of people aren't going to church. They're not at this third place town hall type place where you interact with a lot of different people, but you also have a moral compass that's found in the Word of God. So you have these young people that are like, well, then my dating's going to be informed by Call Her Daddy, or my dating's going to be informed by Andrew Tate's podcast, or my dating's going to be informed by, Theo Vaughn or whatever these individuals could get their hands on. And they're like, well, they say on Call Her Daddy this, they say on, Tate's podcast this, they say this. And then now they're all just disillusioned, where the embeddedness of a woman to look at a man and be like, okay, I see what's in front of me, but the way God's wired me is I could see past that because there's a gift in a mother to look at her children and be like, yeah, my son may be eating crayons right now, but he's going to be a great guy one day. It's like,
right.
or my daughter may be picking her nose and eating her boogers, but I don't see that. What I see is who she will be. And moms are really great at seeing that. And women can do that with men. Like, yeah, he may be working at the Piggly Wiggly right now, but I can tell like he's going to run a company one day if I encourage him, or I could tell he's going to be a great tradesman, contractor, construction worker. I can see that even though he works at In-N-Out right now, working the air fry or the fryer. Like when they're sober-minded and they're encouraged not to see the way that society is telling you to see, but see the way that God has put in you to look at value, to look at, be attracted to who you see, but also be judging things of like character and conduct and how an individual treats their mother and how the individual treats a stranger and how they treat other people. It's like that stuff you really can't just put a number to it. But women can catch that when they're sober-minded and they've been taught well. They can catch that kind of stuff really well. And then, hopefully for young men, they can realize, I think more than anything, even a recent pastor was like, I bet you hear this all the time, but I'm really like, I'm not, Adam, you're a really handsome man, but Ashlee's very pretty. Like, I don't like, how did you attract her? I'd love to know that story. And he was just like, 'cause Ashlee's very beautiful and you're handsome too, but he was just like, he was really saying I'm swinging above my weight class, which is fine. I agree, and he was like, oh, why? And we were just joking. And I told him, well, because she knew me when we were kids. And, kids look past what society now has already, I was 12. She was 14. She had a crush on me. So when we met in our 20s, the little flutter in her the childhood crush came back. So now, but all her previous boyfriends, she chose dating based off of how much do they make, how good of a professional athlete is, what's their influence, this and this and this, because that's what her friends around her have valued. That's what society told her was valuable. But then we met and it was like, oh, that 14-year-old girl again was like, well, I'm not even concerned with that. This is a guy I had a crush with before society told me height mattered and you know, all these other things that society would say that even to this day people ask me, like, you know, does it ever bother you Ashlee's taller than you? And I'm like, why would I think something that I can't control
affects you?
Like bother me?
If it bothered
can't
you, you
control
guys
that.
wouldn't have
Got
dated.
married. Yeah.
It's
Got
the
married.
weirdest.
Yeah.
Like, why are we
But I'm
still
like, I
talking?
can't control that, right? What I can
Right.
control is my character, my
Right.
conduct.
Right.
Like, but I'm like, I can't control my height. I can't even always control my metabolism. Like, there's certain things like, yeah, I could be better disciplined, but hey, my metabolism just don't work like other people in that sense, that this expectation of how I should look and appear. It's like, why would I get caught up? And if for her, if she was that vanity was big enough for her, then I would have just been like, cool, on to the next one. Like, I don't, no big deal. And so, but I think so many people, because we're trained with that level, and everybody's trained differently. Vanity to everyone is different. You know, everybody's version of vanity is different of what they look at, what's important to them. But again, if that's the only source, like, I didn't even look at Ashlee originally. I thought she was beautiful. But what impressed me the most about her was she worked with kids with autism.
Okay, so I have a question
I
for
wasn't
you
like,
both.
oh, she's drop dead gorgeous. I was like, she's beautiful. She works with kids with autism.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
thought
you
that's
were
so
like-
attractive.
That's what stood
you know,
out.
like, yeah.
Right.
Like,
So I have a question for the gentleman then. On the flip side, you talking about a woman seeing potential in a man. Both of you, pastors, dating women with a past who maybe don't necessarily fit the mold of pastors' wives and eventually pastors as well. What did you guys have to, what were you guys telling yourselves about that aspect? Because you guys had your career path and spiritual path ahead of you, and the wife is such an important role in that. Were there moments, or what was it that you saw? What do you see in the woman as a potential partner in all of that?
Well, I think how women have the ability to see that best as men. Obviously, most men are wired to be visionaries. So I think for me was, obviously, I fell in love with your character. I fell in love with your compassionate heart and stuff like that. So for me, it was like I saw the vision of you that you were going to walk out your calling. I didn't know exactly what that would look like, 10 years down the line, but I knew that God had something great for you and bigger than even what you thought when we first got married. So I think for me, I could see that in our relationship and what I saw in you. When I say when we got together, I was confident in a lot of ways. I was confident and secure in myself in the regard to your past. Like, that didn't bother me at all. Like, I was secure in me being a virgin, and I was secure in God saving you and redeeming you and all that stuff. So that didn't bother me. I didn't get hung up in that and all. And I think you would say I wasn't really caught up in that. So for me, it was like, okay, Lord, I see this amazing woman in her heart, and I see something amazing for her life. And for me, it was just praying through that over the years, what that would look like. God would reveal that. And so, yeah, I don't know. I don't think you were like caught up in Ashlee's past.
No, I because
Well, you had a
I had
past
been
too.
when I was in my I had a past too, but when I was in that church subculture, Reformed and all that, I was dating all the girls that were like homeschooled virgins, all that stuff like that. And I came from more of a ministry, being dads, that was a little bit more like rough around the edges. And so like everybody kind of had a past and all that kind of stuff like that. And so what I know for sure, I found out that like kind of like sheltered girl that's like, I'm her first bad boy thing. Like I found that was not what I was like. That would have crippled me, because then people I was introducing them, they were really uncomfortable with. So like friends who had did time in prison, or, you know, friends that, you know, whatever it was, right? This friend used to be a drug dealer and he's saved now and he's going to be a pastor. Like I would hear these girls get like really nervous around that stuff. And it was like, oh man, like even before I was back here at the church that, you know, our dad was at, I still always knew that I'd be pastor and be called to people that like had a past. And that's all I was ever really raised around. I wasn't in that white picket fence church place.
Right.
I mean, we're in California. We're not in the Bible Belt. So, you know, like almost everyone has some type of like really fringe past. And I mean, I just look at like people that me and Ashlee have pastored now over the years. I mean, we've pastored like ex-prostitutes, ex-strippers, ex-drug dealers, people out of prison. And these people are like, have careers now, and like, you know, they're in their second or third marriage. Man, if I married a girl that was like off-putting, like we went to dinner and then we're like working with a couple that like, you know, had this totally fringe past, whether it be a prostitute, call girl. I mean, I've married people that were like, the girl was once a call girl, you know, like, and like if Ashlee was like, they're just gross. Yeah. I could never marry someone like, then I'd be like, oh, you're disgusting. Like, we don't have, God's got grace for them. Like, what are you talking about? So I think ultimately by the time I met Ashlee, like, it wasn't like I was preferring a woman with like a testimony.
Somebody who
but it was
had
like,
life experience.
oh wow, like, because I had dated girls that didn't have
Naughty
life
girl,
experience.
come on.
Right.
And what I didn't like was like judgmental women.
Yeah.
That I didn't like. I didn't like women that talk trash behind women's back, and every women like to talk. So obviously Ashlee's like jokes or has her own criticisms on people, but it doesn't come out of like a lack of grace. It comes more out of like, this person's annoying me, I'm annoying them, whatever it is. Like we're human. Yeah. But for her, it was like the people we would be around, it would like, she never had this like sourness towards this judgmental, and there would be girls that I kind of talked to and they would walk away and they would immediately try to share with me why they're better than that girl, you know? And that's really ugly to me. You know, that's a huge turnoff to me. So, yeah, I think by time with the past and all that, it was like almost like I had saw a change of her heart. I saw that God's grace saved her and forgave her and all that stuff. And I saw that she was a different person. Even though in the dating process, she did lie to me about a lot of stuff that she was trying to hide from me.
Scared.
To get serious.
I was scared
with
when
her.
you like somebody and you're like, yeah, they're going to definitely not like this.
Yeah, I mean, it was as simple as like, when was the last time you had sex with another man? And she gave me this like long, you know, thing. And then it turned out it was like 90 days before we met, you know, and it was like, but I found that out 9 months later, and it would be like, and I'd have to go home and be like, she told me it was like 2 years ago, last time she had sex with a man. I mean, we're talking about, you know, it was 3 months before we met. Like, and it was like it was someone she kind of knew, but it was like more of a one night stand. It was like, dang, it's okay. Wait, I gotta, you know, and it was like really just understanding that she had a past, but also like we all are a work in progress. Yeah. And those were the decisions I had to make, was like, okay, she loves the Lord, she's saved, but she has some, you know, she has some, what I had found out later was like insecurities, some doubts in her own self. And it was like, okay, well, like, as a man, I think men, especially go look at the Bible and you look at the story of Gomer and stuff like that. I think men are really good at covering a multitude of sins as well. I think men are really like, we've been made by the Lord to cover our wives. And I think that, you know, that was something I had to make a decision when it came to not just Ashlee, any girl I was going to marry with a past. Am I willing to cover her the way that the scriptures say that love covers a multitude of sins? And am I willing to pull the purity, you know, out of her by, as the scripture says, loving her as Christ loves the church, you know, which is regardless of the church's, you know, shortcomings and stuff like that. And so for me, that was like really, I wouldn't say it was easy to do, but it was like, it was a joy to do, in the sense of you know, seeing that I'm like, this is a great woman. She works hard. She loves children. She loves people. does she have a past or whatever it is, or anything? I was like, yeah, but is there such thing as a perfect person? Can Christ, can our relationship with God be the model of our relationship? Yeah, I think so. And I would test that with different ways to see where her compassion was, and where her ability was to have conviction, and it was like, oh yeah, cool,
sure.
we're good. Yeah.
So I have an example of sort of me pulling something out of Nathan, and then Nathan really leading me to be the best that I could be. Is that right when we got married?
I'm glad I didn't yell at her.
No, this is a good one. Yeah. Right when we got married, we had probably been married about 2 months. And Nathan had never preached in the main sanctuary. He was a children's pastor at the time. And he was preaching for the very first time. I had really encouraged him. I think you're ready. I think, you can do this. No, it was a Sunday night. And that's when we had Sunday night service. This was even before Sunday Night Fresh started. It was Sunday night. Yeah. And so I said, I really wanted to just encourage him and just let him know that that he can do this. So I said, no, I really think that you should take this opportunity, preach, and so he began thinking about and praying through what he was going to speak about. And he wanted to speak on something that he was very familiar with. And so he came to me and he said, okay, I think I know what I'm going to preach on. I think I'm going to preach on purity, because that is something that I have walked through, and now I'm married and I can talk about it on the other end. And I'm like, that's great. This is wonderful. We've been married for 2 months. I'm like, yeah amazing, babe, and he says to me, he goes, so I was wondering, if maybe at the end of the sermon, if you could come up for 5-10 minutes and share your testimony. And in my mind, I'm thinking, you're preaching on purity.
You're right.
Hello. So I looked at him and I said, but you're preaching on purity. He says, yeah, and I want you to share like what you've been through. And keep in mind, I went to a different church, and I came to this church when we were engaged, which was just a few months before we got married. So I was new. I didn't know anybody at the church. So this was like my debut to the people, essentially.
Yeah.
And so I said to him, I'm sorry, you want me to go in front of your congregation at a sermon about purity, and you want me to tell your people that I used to be a hoe?
Hold on.
And he looked at me and he just chuckled. He said, well, not those words, but essentially, yeah. He said, because God's delivered you from that, and I love you, and I think that you can really help a lot of people through whatever it is that they're going through. I knew in that moment that as long as I had his support in ministry, I did not have to pretend to be anybody that I wasn't. Mm-hmm. And that was a catapult for me, really walking in who God has called me to be in ministry, and the fact that he can use what I've been through to just be transparent. And that was a huge pivotal moment for me, because we had just been married, and he was comfortable with me saying that about myself, and that wasn't going to reflect on him, but that God was going to use our story. And so that was special for me.
Yeah.
That's great.
Well, that's great. We hit time.
Oh,
y'all.
wow.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Restore God's
I'm going to talk about ADHD another day.
Yeah, Nathan wouldn't stop talking. So
He talked more than usual.
He did. He brought
I
his
will
A
say
game.
this really quick for 1 minute.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, please.
No, because I was going to affirm what you said, because I think it's really important what you said in terms of the men, stepping in as that covering as seen in the Bible, because throughout our whole marriage, it's resonated me. 2 weeks before we got married, we sat down with Sanaz's pastor who did our premarital. Mm-hmm. And he looked at both of us and he said, Nathan, is there anything else you need to ask Sanaz about her life and her past before you get married? And at that point, I felt like we talked through a lot. I felt like that Sanaz was transparent as much as I needed to know, up to that point. Obviously, as you get married, you still dialogue and you learn other stuff. But I felt like I asked that, and he said, you need to know, because in 2 weeks, when you get married, you will step in to now cover her, and you cannot hold any of that over her head moving forward. It is your responsibility now to cover that. And it was like that moment, like it's resonated and stayed with us throughout our marriage. And I think that's why it's helped me navigate that, even as a confident husband, secure husband, understanding like, no, my responsibility is to cover her.
Yeah.
Now and from that past. And so I think that was spot on what you said.
And I think, to that same regard, like, let's just say Ashlee like ran into one of her ex-boyfriends that she was like really, felt she was going to have a future with her. Let's just say Ashlee had an ex-husband, and then she interacts with her ex-husband, maybe emotions boil up, maybe tears, maybe anger, whatever. Like it would be, it's my job as a husband to, hey, it's okay, let's dialogue about it. Not go, man, that's your past.
Yeah.
You go deal with it. I don't want to hear nothing about your ex-husband. I don't want to hear nothing
Right.
about your ex-boyfriend. It's like, well, I would have had the choice to not hear about her ex-husband or ex-boyfriend before we got married.
Sure.
If I really don't have enough maturity to be able to cover her and
Yeah.
have that conversation, then I should have been man enough to be like, well, I'm not going to pursue
stay
this
single.
relationship
Yeah.
any further because your past bothers me. But if we're married now, John Legend, all of me loves all of you.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
I get all of you. So if all of you is still not having feelings for your ex-husband or whatever, but whether it be through the pain, the emotional damage,
Yeah.
whatever, like that bubbles up, you're not a perfect person. I can't love you so much so that it erases your past. Like that's only something that the Lord could do. And so in that covering thing, it's all of it. It's not just as the past, it stays in the past. Sometimes the past comes to the front
Yeah.
door. Right. And when that happens, that Red Bull, as that happens, that it's part of my responsibility still in the covering to be like, hey, talk to me about it. Let's pray about it.
Yeah.
Maybe we should go talk to our pastors about it, or maybe, oh, we love, like what we did as we have and God has healed. It was like, let's go talk to Nathan and Sanaz about that. Let's not keep this in an echo chamber because I may take it too personally or whatever. And so it's like, let's expand the conversation. Let's ask some people to speak into it. That's that job of a husband to cover that. Cause I hear we do a lot of counseling, and it's always, whenever, biological children with other, another spouse gets involved or whatever, it's always like, those are your kids. Yeah. That's your ex-wife. It's like, man, y'all, two is one. Like whatever problems he had, you have. Whatever problems she had, you have.
Exactly.
Like you guys inherit each other's issues because you became one. And if you don't have the maturity to inherit issues, then stop sleeping around with each other.
That part.
Stop fooling around. Don't go to marriage just because you're lonely. Like this is your problem now. So I think that covering part and the unity part is really important in the process. Well,
amen.
Everybody, you idiot. God bless.
Good job,
every one of
Nathan.
us.
Great job,
Is
babe.
that Tiny Tim's saying?
God bless you, everyone.
Oh, yeah. That's what we had a staff
Insert
Christmas party,
photo.
and I was Insert photo. Get it to Andy. To Ashlee, we had a staff Christmas party. I came up as Scrooge, and Ashlee was Tiny Tim with a broken leg. Anyways, God bless y'all.
you
Have a great
guys.
week.
Bye.
Bye.